This election, you have a choice. Make sure biblical principles get a voice. Hey guys, it's Katie, and I am your host of Faith at Work. This is our podcast, and we are going to talk about our favorite thing, politics. Because I think we only talked about politics like one time ago, and it's just so important right now, you guys. We're not going to back away from it. We want this to be a space where we respect your views, you respect our views, and we actually get to the bottom of the biblical principles that are going to help you decide who to vote for. I have been watching a ton online, and I've been seeing people that are like, I'm voting for blank. I don't know why. I'm not really looking into it. That's the deal. And I just want to urge you to look into each candidate and decide based on your principles, biblical principles, and really make sure that you get your voice out there, because people are on the sidelines. And if you were on the sidelines and you would have voted one way, you might as well cast your vote for the other side, because that's literally what you're doing. We are in the crunch time, and it is literally a call to action right now for you to get involved, get educated. If you feel one way about one candidate, look into both, and we're going to provide information for you for both. Because look, it's not fair. The way that each candidate talks about the other one, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, stop taking the big item, and I'm going to get into each item right now. Stop taking a big item that doesn't make any sense, that's not real, and pound it into your constituents and make people think something. Talk about the real truth. So here's the real deal in politics. If each candidate would actually let you know their faults and things that they weren't good at, and have some accountability on things that are not their strengths, and then tell you how they're going to fix them, we could all respect that. But that's not what's happening. They're just attacking each other, blaming each other, and leaving you wondering, like, what is the truth? So let's talk about truth number one. Truth number one I want to talk about is Project 2025. If I have to hear about Project 2025 one more time, look, if you're a Kamala person, and it is, Kamala. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. How do you say Kamala? This is how I have learned, and I'm always like messing it up, is I picture comma, C-O-M-M-A, la. Okay, that is the right way, right, Val? Kamala?
Yes, I think so. It's one of those things that I've kind of been saying Kamala, but yes, Kamala, I think is correct.
Okay, it is. It's comma, like C-O-M-M-A, even though like we can get into the fact that maybe she was saying it a different way at one time. It doesn't matter. It's Kamala, comma, la. It's not Kamala. It's not Kamala. It's Kamala. Okay. If you're a Kamala fan, I still want you to listen. I still want to talk to you. But I want you to look at what she is saying and what she's focusing on, and ask yourself why. If somebody, Trump, has said, I did not read, I did not write, I am not running on Project 2025, why are you repeatedly, even on your interview, if we can even call it that, with Charlemagne de God last night, okay? Even on that interview, you brought up the cleansing, basically, like that basically, I haven't read 2025, so I'll just say I have not read Project 2025. Neither has Trump. He's saying it's not his thing. It's saying that you're going to be deported even if you're here legally. Like, it's saying that you're going to have legal immigrants get deported. So that's like something that they're running on. Listen, Project 2025 is not Trump's plan. If you want to see Trump's plan, go to the website. We're going to give you the link. Go look at his plan. You might still not like Trump, but at least know what he's trying to do, which is he's actually getting flack from the conservatives about his stance on abortion. He's not anti-abortion. It's actually a problem for him with conservatives. Learn what each candidate is actually talking about, okay? So that's number one. Number two, okay? So a little truthy type thing, number two I want to talk about is when the candidates are talking about, what was the thing that we were talking about? I was going to talk about the cats and the dogs, like eating the cats, eating the dogs, right? It's like this huge meme going around. When we're talking about that, we're talking about legal immigrants, but, right? So it actually is just that they have come over like with a little caveat. So the Haitian population has basically emptied, especially into Springfield. Were geese, cats, ducks, whatever, were animals being eaten? I didn't see animals get eaten myself. So again, go find the actual people in the city, not the mayor. Like, of course, the mayor's like, my people, my constituents aren't eating dogs or cats. But then if you actually go look up the stories of people who have actually had their cat taken or their dog taken, you can decide what you think is real. Are these people making up stories so that they could like have some funny dance to do? I mean, eating the cats, eating the dogs. I actually was like trying to think about it, like eating the cats, eating the dogs. I'm like, I actually want to learn it, but not for any political reason, just because I think it's hilarious and it's kind of fun to watch. But sorry. That is something where if you're going to run on something, you need to know that it's for sure not true. Otherwise, you're basically just saying the same things over and over again that are wrong, and you're trying to make it seem like they're right. Okay. The other thing is number 3, the border. The border. Every single time the border is brought up, obviously Trump focuses on all of the illegal people who have come over under the Kamala and Biden and Biden, right? They're under their presidency. You have all of these people coming over. We're talking about 4 times the amount or more. Okay. So whether you agree on if it's 10 million, 20 million, like whatever your facts that you're getting from, it's at least 4 times as many. And it's because on day 1, they took all of the executive orders that Trump had put into place about the border and they got rid of them. It's facts. Go look at the executive orders that Biden overturned on day 1 of his presidency. They were all in regard to immigration and the border. They had border wall material all bought and paid for, ready to go. They basically sold off some of it like pennies on the dollar, and the rest were just sitting there decaying. So there are things that were in place that were ripped away. Here's the deal. When Kamala is asked about this, she acts like they were trying to put this bill that was going to help them get more people and create more asylum and everything like that at the border. When she's saying that, she's not admitting to the fact that on day 1, they did something that caused a lot of more people illegally to cross the border. It's a fact. So running on the fact that Trump tried to kill some bill, look, did a bill come up that was going to maybe help get more people at the border to help the amount of people that were coming over? Maybe. Yeah, like maybe Trump called. Maybe Trump was influencing the politicians at some way. We don't know that. But even if we do know that, say that's true. Say Trump killed the bill. It does not change the fact that for 3.5 years before they were even getting that bill into a vote, they were allowing millions of people to come over. And not only that, I really want you to look at some of the border videos and really look into this, you guys, because the sheer amount of people that are coming over is crazy, but the way it's being handled is unbelievable. It's like, hey, we'll see you at your court date in whatever time. And then you already know that they're being housed in New York in the nicest hotels. They're being given money, cell phones, and IDs to vote. It's like, even if you don't believe that's happening, please look into it a little bit, because even here in Collier County, there are tons of people that are not from here that don't speak English that are getting IDs, and they are going to be registered to vote. And if you think that it's important to be able to have your right as a citizen of the United States be protected with voting, you need to be looking into these things as well. So that's just what I'm going to say. Look, obviously I lean a certain way, but I also want to hear both sides. I want to understand why you think that one person is better than the other, and I don't want to hear about tweets. I want to hear about policies, and I want to hear about the Bible, because at Faith at Work, we're really trying to think of what is our obligation as a Christian. So I want to read a Bible verse for you guys, and it is Proverbs. I think I have it right here, actually. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. Okay, this is not saying one person is evil and one person isn't. It's saying that in order to have a godly government, in order to have biblical principles be coming from our people that we are praying for, that are in power, that make voting happen, that cast the votes, that make policies that we all have to follow as citizens, in order to put godly people there, we need to understand who is representing godly principles, and we need to vote for those people. This one study was done that says that 32 million Christians are likely not to vote. So if 32 million Christians are likely not to vote when the total that vote from most sides is like it was 70 and 80 or 70 something and 80 something million, that means like half of the amount of people that voted one way or the other are represented as Christians that are deciding not to vote. And when it says in Proverbs 29:2 that the righteous in authority, the people rejoice, it's saying that without pastors willing to speak about the Bible's perspective on policy issues and then encouraging Christians to vote, it's hard to have a godly government. So the church is kind of staying completely out of it. And I'm going to pull Val in because I know that she goes to a different church than me. I want to know what she's hearing, what she believes, because we are all having our own experience. Like my church is actually talking about biblical principles versus politics and giving us an urge to vote, like making you see that it is your duty, not just as a citizen, but as a Christian, to make sure that what God says is right is what's being represented in the government. So Val, like what is your church talking about in politics, or are they not even bringing it up?
My church is definitely talking about politics. They kind of do everything but come out right and say it, basically. They make it kind of clear where their stance lies. Like, for example, during the Israeli conflict, Israel versus Palestine, they made it very clear that because Israel is God's country, they supported that country. They weren't saying, oh, we should be killing a bunch of people. They were just like, we're coming at this from a biblical perspective, and from a biblical perspective, this is what we support. So they are very biblical in their perspective, which I really appreciate. And in terms of the elections, I think they've just made it clear that there's going to be big changes regardless, and everybody needs to be informed and focused. But I think that my church has not nearly been as vocal as yours has, like based off what you're saying right now. And I think it is really encouraging to know that some pastors are encouraging voting, because it's really, really easy to not vote. We're actually looking into it. And the most common reason people don't vote is just general indifference, which is kind of crazy to me that in this day and age and in this world, people can still be indifferent to having their voice be heard.
Oh my gosh, amen. I mean, to even think that it's not important for you to represent your voice in this political climate that we have right now. So you're just saying like, okay, everything's a slippery slope, whether you believe in transgender people or like if you have a problem with, I mean, biblically, when they're talking about gay and they're talking about transgender and all these things, you can have your own stance in, hopefully it's rooted in the Bible, right? But most churches aren't even talking about the Bible. Most churches aren't referencing the Bible at all. It's sit down, stand up. They're not even having a relationship with God. So you need to find that other places. There are so many resources now beyond the church. You don't even have to go to church. I get that. Like, I had a big conversation with my mom about it because they've decided church isn't their thing. That's okay. I think that as long as you're in community with people and you know that iron sharpens iron and that you should actually, we're the body of Christ and the body doesn't work without each other. So if we're not working together, then we're probably not living out our purpose that God has put in line for us. Because how could you? If you're not helping anybody, then how are you serving God? Because serving God is serving others and loving others. So if you're not in a community and you want to be, you guys, this is like your first stop. We're your first stop shop. Come to us and let us know. You don't have to come to our church. You don't have to go to her church, my church. You can just get into a group of people that are having, and we're going to start a Bible study as well so that you have a place that you can come, because it's so important to be able to have doubts and have questions and have pain and have sin. Like, we're all sinners, and giving yourself a judgment zone, like, well, I'm not sinning as bad as that person. That's how people feel about church, right? They feel like church people are on their pedestal. Like, I went to church and I serve at church, so I'm a good person. Then you see them like backstabbing someone, sleeping with someone's husband, and you're like, okay, church is not good. That's just humans. That is human nature living itself out in a group of people. That is not representative of the church. It's representative of our fallen human nature. So don't forget that just because people are in their own journey doesn't mean that that's not a place where you can go for healing, for support, for love, and for a deeper relationship and understanding of God. So I really, watching the Charlemagne the God, I actually was hoping last night or whenever the interview was, I was hoping that he would do what I'm saying. He's a huge supporter of Kamala, okay? I get that. He worked for her at some point or they worked together. I looked into it a little bit, but in general, I wish he would have just made her answer the question. So the question about the border, like, hey, Trump called you the border czar and you didn't, you weren't the border czar. Like, why are you letting him call you that? And she's like, I'm not letting him call me that. And she said she took no responsibility for the fact that the administration that she is a part of had anything to do with illegal immigrants coming over or coming over in larger amounts than ever before. That's not okay. It's just not okay to not have someone have accountability and think that that person is going to be your leader. Same thing with Trump. If you have something that he said he was going to do, I think he said that he was going to get the JFK, like he was going to unlock all these files, and he didn't. And I think it's because Trump's first time in office, he had never been in politics before. So he was trying to play the game enough, right? Play the game enough to get things done, but he didn't know who to trust or how far he could go. And that's something that I think really hurt him in his first term, is that he didn't really go for the things that he could have that could really make big changes in the world. So either way, we want you to know that there are resources for you to find the good, the bad, and the ugly on Trump and Kamala. We think that you should look into both of those if you're going to vote. We think that you should vote. We hope that you vote. We also know that if you have a strong stance on one side or the other, that you should be doing something right now, this week, next week, to help other people see what you believe and get them to vote as well. Because it's important, you guys. It is our duty as Christians and as people in society to get this vote done. And also respecting each other's sides, because the big thing that's happening is people have no respect. I mean, if you have a Trump hat on, you could get like ran over in the street. If you have a Harris something on, people are calling you stupid. I mean, it's like it's going on such crazy ways that I love the people who are actually leaving the left and coming to the middle is probably my favorite people right now, because they almost like have the perspective of both. And they're just like, hey, I'm going to vote on my principles. And that's all we're asking you to do, is to think about your biblical principles and vote the closest to. So I want to end this with abortion. I haven't had an abortion. I don't know why it's like the number one thing in my head, is because everyone's running on abortion. If you're running on abortion, then you need to have a reason that you're saying that if Trump is in office versus Kamala is in office, something changes with abortion. Because right now, Trump is not putting Trump abortion bans, which is what's being used by Kamala. She's saying Trump abortion bans in this state are making it where women are dying. That is not true. What happened with Roe versus Wade is it's no longer in the hands of the entire country. It's in the hands of the states. People who are not voting in their state and then being mad about their abortion rights, that is your fault, and it's what we're talking about. If you don't know that there's an amendment coming up that you can vote on that can give you more or less restriction on abortion, then that is the problem with you not being a participant in your state. Because the states have decided what they're doing on abortion, you guys. The states have decided. They are voting and deciding per state what happens for abortion. So please stop blaming Trump for whatever abortion rights you have in your state, and please start voting the way that you believe you should vote for abortion, because we can't have an election where people are literally voting for one side because they think the other person is going to ban abortion, because he didn't and he won't, and he has said that he's not. It's his main problem with conservatives. So just please look into this further. We know that you have a choice. We know that we hope that you use your choice and that you use your voice for whatever you believe God is calling you for. Please pray about it. Please get out and vote. Do you have anything to add, Val? Just like final thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel for anybody who's having a really hard time this election cycle. When the candidates came down to who they are, I was really disappointed on both sides personally. And I have just been consuming as much information as I can to really feel like I am making the right choice that I truly believe is going to be the right thing for our country, because it's tough. And this year, like truly for me, I would not have argued for either of these candidates. Like when these were the two that came up, I was like, okay, we're going to be in for a tough one, because I feel like this is some of the most polarizing years of politics. And maybe it's just because I've only been able to vote in so many elections, but from what I can tell, everybody's kind of like, these have been crazy. So I would just like reemphasize, like Katie was saying, get as informed as you can, get as much information as you can, because voting is really important. And also, there's a lot of opportunities to early vote in a lot of the country. Voting on the voting day is very difficult for a lot of people who work. It's always been hard for me. But what I found is if I can go and vote early at one of these polling locations that are literally set up weeks in advance, then it makes it so much easier. There's not a huge line. It's not like you're there for 6 hours. You get in, you get out, and you vote. And so I think there's a lot more opportunities than some people think that there are to vote. So that's something we really want you guys to look into too.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, we are going to actually provide resources. So tell us what county you're in. We're going to tell you when early voting is, where you can early vote, and how you can get involved. So we just want you to vote, but we want you to vote because you know what you're talking about, and it's going to go in line with what you believe and the biblical principles that we hope that you follow. We'll talk about this again, and until then, stay elevated.